Welcome to East Coast Bias. Three guys who love much different East Coast sports teams that we discuss in depth on this show. I'm your co-host Christian, along with my co-host Jack and Dan. Today we'll be discussing the Jets and Giants as always. We'll give you our season previews and predictions for the Big Ten college football teams we root for: Penn State, Maryland, and Rutgers. We'll also preview Saturday's games for each of those teams. All right, let's get right into it, boys. Jack, will the Jets ever score again?
I don't think so for 2 weeks at least. I mean, what can be said at this point? I mean, that's a legitimate question. They got shut out this weekend. Darnold likely not going to play against Buffalo, it looks like. Joe Flacco looks whatever doner than done is what Joe Flacco
overcooked.
Like. They cut Le'Veon Bell. I mean, we're paying Le'Veon Bell twice as much as the Kansas City Chiefs are paying him to play for the Kansas City Chiefs. Adam Gase is still employed. This is Tuesday night. And so I thought he was going to get canned yesterday morning after the shutout, but he didn't.
Shocking.
Very shocking, right? Adam Gase and Greg Williams are now publicly feuding. Joe Douglas hasn't said a word. The Johnsons haven't been heard of for months. I mean, we're headed to 0-16. But Christian, that's a real good question. How many weeks in a row can the Jets go without scoring? Let's put it this way: without scoring a touchdown.
At this point, do you really want them to fire Adam Gase? Don't you want them to keep him in place and just go 0-16?
I think that
they fire him, that could screw that up.
I think at this point, I think at this point that the Jets are do nothing or do anything. I think the Jets are headed to 0-16. Why reward this guy with being in the building for another 10 weeks? I mean, we can all agree at this point, right, that this is a level of coaching and aptitude that is, I mean, they look like an 8th grade team trying to play Clemson.
Gase almost certainly has some incriminating information on somebody high up and major in that building.
My new theory is Adam Gase nutty, and we just don't know it, and some sort of strange, you know what I mean? He sits on the bench. He doesn't talk to the players or the coaches, even when he's on the sideline during the game.
Nobody within 5 feet of him on the sideline. He's just all by his lonesome.
He doesn't seem to pick up the vibe in the news conferences. You know what I mean? He just answers the questions and seems to kind of float away as if they're getting things under control. This whole cockamamie nonsense about he talked to his coaches and they all decided that it was best for the team for Gase to continue calling the plays. Of course your coaches said that.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, sir.
But Christian, I get what you're saying, but I think the Jets are headed to infamy no matter who the coach is. And I just don't want to reward. I mean, you got to get these toxic, terrible management type people out of the organization as fast as you can. Williams.
Also, I mean, where would they even go? I mean, I don't think you can make Greg Williams a head coach.
No, at this point, no. I think Brant Boyer is the special teams coach. I think that by default, he would become the head coach. Denard Wilson would become the defensive coordinator. And I can't believe I have to say these words, but the offensive coordinator would become Jim Bob Cooter.
The legendary Jim.
You want him to fire all the coaches?
No, you can't. Someone's got to stick around, but I think that Williams and Gase should go. I mean, you're going to leave Williams there if you fire Gase? This is like the when the guys got fired in Cleveland. Remember, it was Todd Haley and Hugh Jackson.
Yeah,
same thing. I think both guys on the side of this feud should lose immediately. But yeah, I don't know if he's got naked pictures of somebody or how Gase is managing to do this, but I mean, he's got more double-digit losses than he's got career wins at this point. That's just double-digit losses.
There's absolutely no easy way out for the Jets, and the more they dig themselves in week by week, the harder it makes themselves to get out of it. At this point, I don't even know. There's no right choice at this point.
I mean, if I was Trevor Lawrence, I'm sorry, but I'd tell my agent to tell the Jets, you can pick me, but I'll sit out. Why would Trevor Lawrence entrust his career, the rest of his life, to this organization? I mean, I'd pull an Eli so fast if I were him, and I'm afraid that's going to happen. But I mean, they're so far gone at this point. I don't even know how you would bring them back. Joe Douglas traded the defensive team captain from the press box during the game on Sunday. He traded Steve McClendon and a 7th-round pick in 2023 to Tampa for a 6th-round pick in 2022. Because what we need
the Vita Vea replacement down in Tampa.
Yes, he is the Vita Vea, but double down on 6th-rounders in 2022 right now. Steve McClendon, beloved guy, not useful to us. I get it, but from the game.
Let me ask you this. How much of a genius does CJ Mosley look like for opting out of this gigantic mess, flaming pile of shit for the 2020 season?
I mean, but he's still tethered to the Jets via contract. You know what I mean? He can't just go play anywhere. So
he can worry about that next season, but it's worth it to be out of the building for this nonsense.
This is smart. Yeah. I knew it was going to be bad. You figure 3-13. I didn't know it could get this bad. I mean, this is bad. I mean, this makes Rich Kotite look like, I can't. The whole thing is gone. I don't know what they're going to do. I got no plans at this point.
The people are saying at this point, it seems like the media has kind of decided that this is worse than the Rich Kotite era, and that this era right now is the worst New York Jets era, even though the season's not even done, not even halfway done. They're already saying it's the worst.
That's not even close. That's not even close to true, just because there have been times where the Jets have had losing seasons 5-6 years in a row. The Jets have been to the playoffs within the last, they went to the 2 AFC title games. What? The second was 9 years ago?
Feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it?
10 years ago. It feels like a lifetime, but
the season is almost like a lifetime.
I mean, the late 80s into the early 90s, the Browning-Nagel years. I mean, that was horror show after horror show.
They've been bad. It's hard to pick how bad they've been over these last, couple of decades.
Right. Todd Bowles went 8-8 a bunch of times as recently as a college degree ago. It's just that Gase is so bad, it just makes it feel that bad. So, but I know there's happier news on the other side of the New York football coin.
So happy.
Giants get on the board this week.
Jones's mastery of the Washington football team continues.
Were you happy when Rivera decided to go for 2?
Was I happy? Yes. It also made me wonder whether or not Joe Judge would do the same thing for his team based on his post-game comments about how he expected Ron Rivera to do it. It sounded like he would be of the same mind to try and get some wins. I personally don't find anything encouraging at all, despite the fact that they got a W out of this game. You guys alluded to Daniel Jones, 4 career victories, 3 of them coming against the Washington football team, the other coming against Tampa Bay, thanks to a last-second missed field goal. I really don't feel positive about anything that happened on Sunday. It's still the same team to me, albeit one that has 1 win and is somehow not too far out of first place.
That was the least gratifying win I can ever remember.
Yeah, but it puts them right in the thick of the playoff race.
And they'll be right out of the thick of it after Thursday.
That's put them right in the thick of the playoff race. It does. And the schedule coming up, I mean, we got
Eagles on a short week this week.
Eagles.
Yeah.
I mean, tough game against Tampa, then Washington.
And then the Eagles again. And then the Eagles soon again.
They got 3 games coming up here that they can realistically compete in.
Yeah, if they can win Thursday and then beat Washington again, all of a sudden.
But I don't know if they can win Thursday. What's killing me about this team is just the conservative offense. It is just so damn conservative. And I know it's almost assuredly because they're so afraid of this offensive line. But man, I wish. I'm starting to lose my love for Daniel Jones, but I wish they would just open it up and let the kid play. If he gets sacked 5 times a game, he gets sacked 5 times a game, but open it up a little bit.
I heard a shocking stat this morning You know how they can now they track how fast people are moving on the field, and they can say, who achieved the highest running speed. As far as quarterback runs go this year, of the 7 fastest quarterback runs, the first 4 belong to Lamar Jackson, and the next 3 belong to Daniel Jones.
It's unbelievable. He really moved. He really moved on that.
Fast.
We've been saying on this show for weeks, let him run the ball.
He is fast. Who knew, though?
49-yarder. The
that's
guy can
faster than
run.
Kyler Murray.
Open it up on offense. I mean, they come out first play of the game, great play, 22-yard pass to Evan Ingram. Okay, all right, here we go. We're finally giving Evan Ingram in the game. He finishes with 2 catches for 30 yards. I mean, we talk week after week. There's no talent at wide receiver. You've got Slayton and a bunch of nobodies, but you got Evan Ingram there. Open it up, get the guy down the field and throw him the ball.
It's conservative beyond belief. I did some digging into the statistics today, just to kind of confirm, the eye test when I watch this offense. I've called it multiple times on this show. Molasses slow, prehistoric. It's a little bit more advanced than I give it credit for. I don't know that it's prehistoric because it's not so entirely run-based. At the beginning of the year, first couple of weeks, the Giants were amongst the top teams in the league that were throwing in neutral type of game situations. They've dialed it back over the last couple of weeks, leading to Daniel Jones having a season low 19 attempts against Washington football team this week. As a team, they average 58.2 plays per game. That is dead last in the league, tied for last with the Houston Texans, who just fired their head coach not too long ago. Mysteriously, they do move the ball when they get it. 13th in the league, 6.4 plays per drive. 10th in the league, 2 minutes and 55 seconds, time per possession. Yet somehow 27th in the league in yards per drive with 28.9 average. So they just don't move the ball. It is slow as all get out. They can't really run the ball, though Devontae Freeman is doing a little bit better in that respect. So far over the last couple of weeks. I don't know. Are they trying to hide the offensive line, or are they trying to hide Daniel Jones? Because I'm becoming more convinced that they don't believe in Daniel Jones and they're not opening up the offense because they don't trust him. And for good reason, because he turns the ball over maybe more than any other quarterback, full-time starting quarterback in the NFL.
Nah, I strongly disagree with that take. It's 100% because they're trying to protect the offensive line. It's the worst offensive line in the league, no doubt about it. This coaching staff could not be more all in on Daniel Jones the way they talk about him. It's clear they love Jones.
Talk is one thing. The actions speak louder than the words. And leading to Daniel Jones having a season low attempts by far this week. I'm seeing red flags all over the place.
They're trying to protect the offensive line. They're trying to protect the defense. They're trying to keep the defense off the field. They're trying to get these long drives going. And the problem with that is, you fewer bites at the apple. The punt on 4th and 2 from the Washington 39 was just God. How can you do that?
Strange play call there.
They're trying to protect. I'll give you this, maybe a little bit trying to protect Daniel Jones, but it's largely behind trying to protect this offensive line, which is clearly, one of the worst in the NFL.
What'd you guys think of the Matt Pert experiment this weekend? Did that work out any better than Thomas over there?
I like aggressive coaching that makes a change like that. I mean,
I do too. The kid wasn't playing well. You can't just send him out there and tell the whole team that performance doesn't really matter here right now while we rebuild.
But let's be clear. He was benched for being late to a meeting.
I'm not entirely convinced that that's the case. I think there may be a little bit more to it there. And to Thomas's credit, it motivated his play. I think they were both pretty close. They ended up being pretty close in PFF scores this week.
But I'm not believing it. Saying they made up that the kid was late to a meeting, which is an absolute horrible look for number 4 overall pick.
To throw your guy into the bus.
Make that up.
That would be worse than them just benching him, right?
Yeah.
He was legitimately late to the meeting, but I'm convinced that this was something. You don't just unveil this and leave a guy out there for more than 50% of the snaps at the most important position on your offensive line and not think that he's ready for a disciplinary issue. He played more snaps than Thomas in that game. He came back into the game after Thomas had been out there and acquitted himself quite well. This
Did
was
play
something
well.
they were prepared for. I think that they told Andrew Thomas that he was going to split the snaps. I think Andrew Thomas, being a rookie, was probably frustrated at that. Maybe it led to him missing the meeting. Who knows? But I think
Wow.
that was kind of a convenient excuse for them to kind of sell it over to the fan base and to save themselves
it is
face.
It is election season.
But
so
they're saving themselves face
October,
because
it's an
they
October
have to say, hey,
surprise.
conspiracy theory.
they have to say,
Yeah.
hey, look, it's not that we want to bench our first round supposedly stud rookie left tackle. He was a disciplinary issue. So I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it.
All right. Well,
Wow. Faith in the Giants organization continues unabated, I see.
well, Thursday.
Well, look,
night
again,
game,
at least the coaching staff made the move and said, we're going to put this guy in. They had been working him into the mix over the last couple of weeks.
Judge. I mean, they've done that all season. You know, you hear every week, you know, guys, if they're performing in practice, they get in the lineup, you know, especially on defense. If a guy doesn't play well 1 week, I mean, he almost doesn't even get in the game next week. And look at Golden Tate. And Golden Tate's been a disaster. He's essentially been, you know, transitioned out of this team. He's not even on the field unless they're in three wide receiver
They go
sets.
to 3
anymore.
or 4.
No, I'll give Judge credit. He's not one of these guys who just plays the big name players. You know, if you're not getting the job done, he sits you on the bench.
You don't have to look far. We talked about this multiple times. The Eric Flowers experience. Think about how different the Eric Flowers experience would have been if somebody, you know, a coaching staff along the way, a Coughlin, somebody else would have made this move on Eric Flowers. It might have been a lot different. So I'll applaud.
Or move them to guard, which I was saying to do for years, and then
he got good, right? Exactly.
No Pro Bowl guard, but
he
could play guard for the Giants.
By the way, Justin Pugh killing it at left guard for the Arizona Cardinals now. Who knew? I didn't even know where he was. So for a Thursday night Giants Eagles games, how do you guys watch? What's your setup? Where are you sitting? Are there any? Is it different for a night game for the Giants? What are you drinking? What are you eating? Anything?
Yeah, I'm trying to stay awake on my couch after a hard day of work.
That's
There's nothing I hate than these
both you
Monday
guys
and Thursday night games.
Desperately trying to stay awake. I love it.
Desperately trying to stay awake. And I think let's do our picks before we move on to college football.
You locked up there for
you locked up there.
To edit that part out.
Internet connection is unstable. Hopefully this doesn't go off.
You had me hanging on the edge of my seat though.
Yeah, you're back though. Yes, you're about to go into your prediction.
This one out 27-20. I think I will be up all night because the Giants will keep it close. If it is a blowout, I will go to bed. But Giants pull this one out 27-20. Eagles are so banged up. No Miles Sanders. Man, how sad is that? Should be the marquee Penn State Bowl. Saquon versus Miles Sanders. Both of them will miss the game.
Back-to-back generations of great Penn State running backs were being
just killer. But Giants pull this one out 27-20. Matos?
I think it'll be a low-scoring affair. Like the game against Washington football team was. I think the Giants are not going to come out on top. I think it'll be 21-17. Eagles. Eagles are a remarkably similar team to the Giants. Only difference in the Eagles offense is they run the ball a hell of a lot better, largely due to Sanders, but also due to Carson Wentz, who's been running out of his mind the last couple of weeks. And they convert in the red zone at a rate that is astronomical to what the Giants convert to. So I think it's 21-17. Philly wins. Closer than some might expect, but Giants aren't there yet.
Jack?
Who's the Giants MVP?
James Bradbury.
I guess now it is, but I was going to go with Graham Gano. Giants 2017 field goal at the buzzer. They somehow pull it out.
All right, and the Jets this week. Let's not screw it up with COVID. Who we got?
Bills. They got the Bills this week.
The Bills.
Versus the Bills. Man, the Bills have looked terrible lately.
They have, but they're about to get
quite
right.
What's your prediction?
Facing the NYJ. I am going. They're not going to get shut out. I'm going to go Buffalo 34-3.
Dan?
It'll never
34 to 10. Very close to what I was thinking, but I think 34 to 10. The Jets get on the board somehow. Buffalo's defense hasn't been all that great. They'll definitely kill the Jets, but they haven't been all that great. So
even the Bills can accidentally fumble when the ball bounces towards the Jets end zone. They might score, but I'm going to say that doesn't happen this week. I'll stick with 3. Christian, what do you got?
I'm going to go 38-3. Another week without a touchdown for the New York Jets.
Yep, I think we're going to be coming back to the Jets touchdown watch every week. Speaking of every week, Dan, do we get a penny for your thoughts this week on the Giants? Do we see our boy?
I'm ready. I'm ready. Come on. Eli Penny watch. I'm not going to go week by week. I will just say season high 5 snaps this week.
5 snaps.
So clearly he's interested in justifying his spot.
More snaps for Eli and they win.
And listen, yeah. I'm developing a second pet project. We're going to call this one Levine Toilolo watch. Watch out for that in the future. Another guy who I wonder why he has a roster spot because he barely plays at all. 9 snaps this week for Levine.
That your third tight end?
Third tight end for those out there not following the Giants closely. All right, boys, enough of this bullshit.
Let's talk. Let's talk future.
Let's talk real talk.
Let's talk exciting.
Real talk.
We've been waiting. We're 4 days away from Big Ten kicking off.
Winning football.
We're going to give you our Penn State.
Oh, wait.
The Irish are undefeated and 3rd in the country, so we do have some winning football. But now some Big Ten football.
We're going to give you our Penn State, Rutgers, and Maryland season predictions. Where do we want to start? Let's split up the awfulness and pick. Let's start with Rutgers.
Let's go. Yeah, then
Jack, give us a quick synopsis, kind of preview of Rutgers, where they are coming into the 2020 season.
Yeah, so Greg Schiano's back for his stretch number 2 at Rutgers. So there's excitement there. Finally got a roster and a depth chart. And the question is at quarterback. We got an or on the depth chart. It's going to be Noah, and it's Vedral, apparently, not Vidral. It's not Vidral. It's Noah Vedral or Artur Sitkowski. Sitkowski is the more prototypical pocket passer with a bit of a cannon. And Vedral is a guy who came out of the RPO, ran it with Scott Frost at UCF, and then actually transferred to Nebraska to follow Frost. He's actually started in the Big Ten before and was a little more successful than Sitkowski. Thing is, I've seen the depth chart now. The offensive line and the rumors out of camp are that the offensive line has really, really struggled, and I can see why. Both tackles are backed up by true freshmen, which if you think about it means that Chris Ash did not have 3 tackles in the program that were capable of playing in a Big Ten football game. And the backup at center is a guy who was playing defensive line 3 weeks ago.
What's your prediction on who's going to get the start?
But if we're going to pick a quarterback, I think that Gleason has got a good reputation for matching his offense to the players he's got rather than the other way around. And I think Schiano wants to pick somebody and go with it. And if Schiano's got to pick which offense he wants to run for the next 3 years, I have a feeling because he's a modern coach, he'll pick RPO mesh style stuff over a prototypical pocket passer. And for that reason, I think Vedral will get the start.
That's the guy from Nebraska.
That's the guy from Nebraska. More of a runner / passer.
UFC than Nebraska.
UCF. He's been a Scott Frost guy.
Tell me he flaked on Frost.
Wow.
Frosted flake.
He did. Holy cow. So let's go with Vedral, but the offensive line is going to struggle. The defense has actually got a lot of upperclassmen on it. There was one surprise. Tyreek Maddox-Williams listed as a backup at linebacker. That's going to last about 2 plays. He and Tyshawn Fogg are going to be the heart of the front 7 there. Their defense might be a little bit better than we thought they were going to be. And Schiano, obviously being a good defensive coach, his background is in defense, not offense. So maybe they'll be a little bit better. But this offensive line is going to struggle, and the team's going to struggle. And their schedule does them no favors, particularly since they can't fatten up on any non-conference games before they get into the Big Ten.
All right. With that in mind, what's your prediction for Rutgers 2020 record?
I've looked at it. There's two I think they could, but only one I think they will. I think Rutgers is going to start 0-7, and they're going to finish this regular season by going to Maryland and beating Maryland for a 1-7 finish. If somebody can find a game in the first 7 that you think Rutgers can legitimately win, tell me. At Purdue was the other one I thought about. With the lack of full crowds, home and away. It's not like Rutgers has a huge home field advantage anyways. Nobody goes to the games, and even if they do, they show up late and leave early.
The home field advantage for the visiting team is what
and I was going to say, and when they play real teams, as you guys already know, Penn State and Ohio State and Michigan come in. I just don't see how. They're not. If Michigan State's not going to be good this year. If Rutgers goes to Michigan State to open the season, Greg Schiano, they might as well put him in the New Jersey Hall of Fame right away. I just can't see that happening. Indiana is not going to be terrible. I'm going 1-7. I think you can maybe switch out which game they win, but I defy anyone to find 2 wins on that schedule.
All right, and I also have Rutgers going 1-7, although I think they beat Illinois.
Okay.
Yeah, that to me seems like an easy one at home. If they're going to win one, that's the one.
I've got Rutgers going 1-7. Matos?
That is the game between Ohio State and Michigan. That's the one that gets lost in the wash during practice. They show up unprepared and they lose 14-10.
I think that Vedral makes more sense at quarterback. Vedral, excuse me. I made that horrible mistake. Vedral, I think he starts. I think Schiano, although he had more of a pro style offense in his previous tenure, I think he's smart enough to adapt and realize that he has to be a little bit more gimmicky this year.
Yeah, they got to go multiple.
Go with the strength of the defense. So I think they run a gimmicky kind of option-y offense with Vedral. So he to me seems the much better, more reliable quarterback, and Schiano probably going to go with that over the bigger arm, which is really all that Sikowski is.
Right.
I'd like the Rutgers Scarlet Knights to finish at 2-7.
Ooh.
And I'm giving them 2 wins.
Wait, 2-6.
Both of them.
Talking regular season?
Well, okay.
I'm looping in Champions Week because that's going to be.
Okay, I didn't even think about Champions Week just without knowing who they're going to play.
The 2-6. Let's do the regular season since we don't know who they're going to be playing.
Who's your Who are your 2?
Seems fairly easy to pick out who's gonna be the last place team that they're gonna match up against. And for those curious, it was another game against Illinois that I was gonna pick them to win in championship week.
Yeah, but
I think
there'll be no rematches in championship week. So if that's what someone's gonna get screwed. So if you're the fifth team
this thing
on
is
one
gonna
side,
be a clusterfuck for the Big Ten. It's a nice idea, but it's gonna be a clusterfuck.
That's what I mean. So some 4th place team could end up playing a 6th place team. And that 6th place team gets screwed just because they already played.
Dearth of information and planning about this whole thing. I think they just.
So, Matos, you have them going 1-7.
1-7.
Illinois as well.
Correct. I don't see on the schedule. I don't see even at Maryland. I don't see them. They can make a couple games out of these, but I don't see them legitimately winning any of these games.
I feel like if you give Schiano a full season and Loxley a full season, and they meet in the last week, Schiano's team will be better prepared, and at that point, better. And that's how I think they win that game. As a Maryland graduate, we also realize, and the 3 of us have been there together, the atmosphere at Capital One Field at Maryland Stadium or whatever godforsaken name they've given it now, ain't great. So it's not like the Rutgers are going to be cowed about marching into College Park to try and win a game. 1-7. I see we got a lot of faith in the Scarlet Knights this year, guys.
All right, let's move on to the team with championship aspirations, the Penn State Nittany Lions. Jack, you're up first. What's your prediction for the Nittany Lions record this season?
I'm going 8-0. I'm doing it.
8-0.
I'm doing it.
That's a bold call for the guy who's not the Penn State fan. I'm interested to see how it comes down. I know how I feel about it, but
it comes down to one game for me, and it's at Penn State, and it's at night, and they've done this before. If you're going to be positive about it, I think they can. I think they can beat Ohio State. Is Ohio State bulletproof? I guess we're going to find out pretty quick, but I don't think so. Justin Fields is very good, but so was Haskins, and so was Cardale Jones, and they're not They're not unbeatable. So if they win that game, they get Iowa at home. There's no one else on that schedule you should worry about, unless you guys are worried about Indiana as a weird opener trap.
Possibly, but not really.
Yeah.
And I mean, when has Harbaugh won, a big game? So I don't mean to jinx anybody. I think Penn State's good. When's it going to be the year? Why not this one? I'm going to go 8 now.
All right. Dan?
I am going 7-1. I think Ohio State, if it were any normal year, and they were playing in a whiteout crowd at Beaver Stadium, I would be all about. It wouldn't be 8-0. It would be some more games, but I would think they'd be more likely to win it. But with no fans, cardboard cutouts in the stadium, Ohio State is a better up and down their roster team than Penn State. And when Penn State has been able to beat Ohio State at home, it's been thanks to that raucous, crazy crowd in those night games, those whiteout crowds that Penn State has now become legendary for. That's not there to put them over the edge. It's tough to say that this may be the best shot Penn State's had to get to that playoff in the last couple of years. But I just don't think that they're good enough to beat Ohio State this year, unfortunately. So it's 7-1 for me. But it's going to be a really good 7-1, and the rest of this schedule is a walk for Penn State. I don't see anybody else that can really even come close to, considering the home away breakdowns. I don't see anybody else that even comes close to this team.
8-0, 7-1, and I got the Nittany Lions going 6-2 this year.
Ooh.
College football to me really comes down to, even more so than the pro game, quarterback play. I just don't believe in Sean Clifford. I attended the home opener last year against Idaho, and I just watching him in person just came away so unimpressed with his throwing ability, and I don't believe he's going to prove to be a big game quarterback for Penn State. So I don't think they'll beat Ohio State, and I think they'll get tripped up. I think that'll be a big deflator in week 2, losing that game. And I think they'll get tripped up. Probably, I'm going to say they're going to lose at Michigan on the 28th and go 6-2. But
losing at Michigan stinks.
Yeah, Michigan's not great, but they got a new quarterback.
Who is the quarterback? Remind me.
I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Not McCaffrey, the other guy. And they got a bunch of 4- and 5-star recruits running all across the field. So I got Penn State losing at home week 2 against Ohio State, and then losing week 6 at Michigan. I think they win the rest of the games. But that's a good segue over. No, it's not a good segue because we got to do the Terps.
We do. What do you guys think about the Journey Brown news, by the way, in State College? Feel bad for the kid? How does this affect the team?
There are not a lot of specifics. Penn State finally made an announcement. It was out there for a while, rumors. Penn State affirmed it, confirmed the rumors today, but kind of hedged it and said he possibly could be out for the season. Didn't exactly say what's wrong with him.
That means he's out for the season, right? I mean,
it seems pretty likely. And if the rumors are true, it's understandable why he wouldn't want to, why he would have to sit out the season for some potentially serious health issues. It stinks. It's not, if they were going to have a loss, that's a good place to have it, considering the depth they have there. But coming off a huge bowl game where he went just absolutely insane, our two best players coming out of that bowl game not playing likely for this season. It's a bummer, but it's not an insurmountable setback. Christian?
Yeah, I'm bummed, but more so because he just seems to be a great guy. He's a real team leader, but I'll be honest with you, I think Noah Cain's a better running back anyway. So Journey had a great end to the season, but he wasn't great before that. Noah Cain's the real deal. And so,
they're equipped to handle this loss pretty well.
I was in Dallas
for him, but I actually think from a football standpoint, it's actually going to work out better for Penn State to be forced to make Noah Kane the guy.
Yeah, you got to pick a guy this way, right?
Get him on the field and keep him on the field this year, unlike last year.
I was in Dallas for the holidays last year with my wife and her wonderful family when Penn State was in town, and I saw the Penn State team at the one of the more famous malls in Dallas, and I saw Ford and Kane and Brown all walking around, the three of them together in their Penn State warm-up suits, and the badassery emanating off of those three guys walking through this mall full of Dallas area shoppers was just incredible. I could have followed them around all day.
No doubt about it.
They looked like, yes,
Very Dudley talented group, that's for sure.
They looked ready to win, and they did. So,
all right, Jack, Maryland, what's your prediction?
yeah, it's not good. I'm going 0-8.
Ooh,
No.
Let's flip it again.
0-8.
Well, I have one wish. I mean, can they win on the road in the opener against Northwestern? So
Yes.
Northwestern's got a new quarterback, the Indiana transfer, Peyton Ramsey. I'm sorry. I'm always getting my Peyton screwed up. Peyton Ramsey,
Yeah.
a relatively quality Big Ten quarterback. If they don't win that game, I'm not sure which one they win. Michigan State at home? I don't know why. And again, with the Maryland quarterback luck they have, usually by the time Maryland gets to the final week of the season, they're not playing the same guy that they started with. Sometimes it's the fourth guy. My prayer is that they start a quarterback and he makes it through the first two games healthy, which will be the first time that's happened in 5 seasons for Maryland. And I think they get to the Rutgers game. And again, if I got to pick between two guys who've had a season with their team, you know, Loxley is a recruiter. Schiano is a tactician and a recruiter. Give me the tactician recruiter every time. I think Rutgers somehow manages to pull that off, and the Terps end up 0-8.
Does Loxley get fired if they go 0-8?
Absolutely not. We don't have the money to fire Loxley with whatever his contract situation and buyout is. I mean, I was never in favor of hiring Mike Loxley. Not anytime, not this time. With his track record and all the nonsensical, non-football, awful things that went on at New Mexico. Again, he's a recruiter, and I'm sure he's a wonderful offensive coordinator, but I just don't believe that he can be the CEO head coach that Maryland needs. You know, I would have hired Mike Leach this time around too. You know, would have put butts in seats, throw the ball around a little bit, win some games. You know, Maryland needs some sort of jolt. You know, we're not going to beat the Big Ten teams just doing it the normal way that everybody else does. Heck, hire Jeff Monken from Army. Try something. But, yeah, I think they go 0-8.
All right, and I've got the Terps going 3-5. I do think
What?
they beat Northwestern.
Wow.
Northwestern and who else?
Yeah, Northwestern. Michigan State is an absolute shambles. They'll beat Michigan State, and they beat Rutgers in the last game of the season.
Well, I mean, again, let's talk quarterback.
I mean, but it's
We don't
not
even
that
know-
great.
we don't
I
even
mean,
know
they have far more talent.
Offensively, they do.
Full side.
They can't stop anybody.
They have far more talent than Northwestern and Rutgers. They should not lose.
Okay.
to Northwestern
All right.
and Rutgers.
You're right. Across
And
the board.
Michigan
they do.
State's in shambles. I mean, could they go 2-6? Sure, they could be 2-6, but I think Michigan State's in that bad of a situation. I got Maryland going 3-5.
That'd be great if they win. If they can beat Northwestern this Saturday night, that'd be wonderful. I'm gonna have a couple pops after that. I'll be up late.
Sad situation when Maryland going 3-5 gets that reaction.
Yes.
Matos, what do you got? You got 0-8 too?
No, I got 1-7 because I got them. As you could tell from my Rutgers prediction, I have them beating Rutgers. That is the one game I think that they've got this year at home against Rutgers. They are talented. They're still not very good, but they're certainly good enough to beat Rutgers at the end of the year. I view it a little differently than you do, Jack. I think the level of talent beats out an end of the year Rutgers team that at that point may be banged up, maybe relying on some of those true freshman tackles at both sides of the offensive line. Not a whole lot of depth in Rutgers to survive the end of the year to be beating a Maryland team on the road.
There isn't at Maryland either. It's not like Maryland's got. I mean, Marcus Minor is their best offensive lineman. He's their starting right guard. He's also their backup at right tackle and center. I mean, they don't. You know,
they've got a full team and a coaching staff that at least has some continuity coming in from last year, way more than Rutgers has. I'm not buying it. I think they beat Rutgers, and that's their one win for the year. Otherwise, they're a walkover, awful, bad
Maryland's
team.
receivers far outclass any position group that Rutgers has right now. But Maryland's got the same problem. They got an Aura quarterback. It's either going to be Talia Tagovailoa to his little brother or Lance Legendre from reality television fame. They haven't made it.
But look, compare that or those are two talented quarterbacks to Rutgers or.
So
I mean, it's not the same thing. Either one of those guys would start at Rutgers in a heartbeat.
We don't know how talented as college quarterbacks either one of those guys are.
Yeah, but pedigree.
What do you know about? I know, but what do you know about Lance Legendre standing behind that offensive line playing against Michigan? I think he and Sitkowski are going to end up doing about as well as each other.
But that's not what we're debating here. We're debating pedigree. I'm telling you, if you gave me those four quarterbacks,
Maryland's are better overall.
To lead my team,
okay.
I'm taking the two Maryland guys over the two Rutgers guys every day based on their pedigree.
I'll give you that. But
chart is easy to sort out.
But all four of them play on terrible teams, and sometimes that ruins your quarterback. I think Maryland's going to be a lot worse than people realize this season. Next year, I think they're set up to be good or 3-5, but I think it's going to bottom out. I think this is the year Maryland bottoms out. I don't think it was last year.
Okay. All right. Well, the good thing is we'll find out starting Saturday. Let's look to the weekend, boys. Penn State takes on Indiana, 3:30 on Fox Sports 1 in Bloomington. Let me say I am worried about this game. I debated long and hard before the show today. I think if they do go 6-2, I think this could easily be the second loss. Indiana is good. Tom Allen has proven to be a great coach for them, and they just have talent after talent. They got a great young quarterback, Michael Phoenix. Missed half the season last year, missed the Penn State game.
It's Penix, isn't it? Or Penix?
Penix, I think it is. Penix.
Yeah, he's got an unfortunate name as a child, sort of name.
At least his name isn't Richard.
That's true. Yes, we've got Asweepe Johnson starting a quarterback this week.
Penix is just a good quarterback. Apparently, he's bulked up quite a bit trying to get over the injury bug. They returned Stevie Scott as a junior, scored 10 touchdowns in each of the past 2 years. They returned our top 3 receivers, caught 167 passes combined last year. They returned a 1,000-yard receiver as their number 1 wide receiver. They've just got a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball. Returned 8 of 11 starters on the defensive side of the ball. I'm worried about this game, boys. Matos, what do you think?
I agree with you. I prefer to start the season off on somebody I have a little bit more of a handle on or might not feel so much like a spoiler. Indiana definitely has a spoiler type feel. They tend to play us tough no matter where they are, home or away.
Close game last year, 31-27, I think.
It is a very tough leadoff game. But I got to think that Coach Franklin will have these guys prepared. Hopefully it won't be the typical Penn State. They don't look so much prepared in the first half. They make outstanding adjustments at halftime and come out gangbusters in the second half. Hopefully they're prepared at the real start of the game.
Exactly what I was going to say is going to happen.
But as worried as I am, as concerned as I may be, I think it's a little overblown. I think also combine that with the risk that they're looking ahead to Ohio State next week. I hear what you're saying, Christian, but I think Penn State wins comfortably in the end.
Comfortably. Yeah, I think Penn State put out their depth chart today, man. They just have so much talent.
I was going to say, I think
they've got 4-star freshmen who couldn't even.
I don't think Indiana is going to be able to reliably move the ball.
I think Penn State
drive after drive.
Yeah, I think Penn State wins by 25, 28 for that very reason.
Ooh.
They got 5-star. Indiana's been practicing against air and themselves, so they're going to go out there with the 4- and 5-star depth that Penn State has on both sides of the ball. It gets real quick, real fast out there. And I think, as Dan said, I think Penn State gets off to a slower start. Maybe they drive the ball down a couple times. You get a couple field goals instead of touchdowns. Maybe they fumble deep, but they ran it all the way down there already. But in the second half, Franklin, that staff adjusts. Notre Dame staff and Penn State staff, both very good. They're the Gary Williams of college football right now. They make great halftime adjustments. Penn State always seems to play better in the second half. So
And
they come
Christian,
out and win easy.
if I can go back to your point, I definitely see what you're saying. We had the discussion about Sean Clifford last week. I see him more favorably than you do. But I think new offensive coordinator Kirk Ciarrocca, I think he's going to craft an offense that's going to rely on the strength of this team, the running game, the offensive line. And I hope, based on what I saw from him in Minnesota, he's a play action type guy. I think he can maximize Clifford's talents and his success by relying on the play action passes in the passing game. The key is going to be what wide receivers are going to step up outside of Freiermuth at tight end. But I'm not so concerned about Sean Clifford because I trust Kirk Ciarrocca to craft an offense that maximizes his talents.
Yeah, I mean, does Indiana have a safety or a linebacker that can cover Freiermuth one-on-one? Probably not, which means they're going to have
a team. There's probably
America
2 or 3 teams in the country that have a safety that can cover him every play.
So with Penn State's offensive line, they should be able to protect with 5 most of the time, unless they got to pick up a blitz and they know it's coming. Who's going to cover Freiermuth? And if they got to double him, I mean, I trust the Penn State receivers one-on-one with Indiana defensive backs.
Yeah.
And they may come out with a lot of 2 tight end looks. They might not use a lot of 3 wide receiver looks. They could do some interesting run-based play formations and personnel sets that can really maximize the talent. Because another thing we talked about last week is I think the depth at tight end may be a little better than it is a wide receiver. But I have faith in Kirk Ciarrocca to craft an offense that's going to maximize the talents of Sean Clifford. And
I think they'll protect the quarterback. I think they'll, week 1, Clifford, they won't force him into throws he doesn't want to make, or
that offensive line is the key.
Yeah,
and the running back talent is secondary to that.
Freiermuth screen
set passing, up well for him.
Right. Deep shots down the field for one-on-one coverage, balls that can't possibly get
steam passes against single safety, against the linebacker, mismatches all over the place for Freiermuth.
All right. You guys have convinced me, but I want it on the record. I'm very concerned about this game. I got Penn State winning 31-30.
I hear you. I understand you. I'm guarded optimism is how I describe myself.
Michaels, what's your prediction?
My prediction for the game? Oh boy. I think Penn State reaches 40. Give me 42 to 24. Little mirror score there.
Jack?
I'm going 31-13. It's 10-10 at the half. Something in there. Penn State ends up going away with it in the second half. 31-13.
That'll be a stressful halftime. All right. The Scarlet Knights travel to East Lansing to take on Michigan State. Jack, what's your prediction for the game?
So you guys seem to have more faith in Rutgers in this game than I do. The early line was 11.5. I've now seen another line that was as high as 14, which makes a little bit more sense to me. Rutgers has got to go on the road. First game under the new coaching staff. I know that Michigan State's got their new coaching staff, but I still figure they got more talent than Rutgers does. Not to mention that the 2 best offensive recruits in the state of New Jersey are headed where next year? Michigan State. So there's a little juice in this matchup too between the coaches and the recruiting staffs there. I just don't see how Rutgers can win. Christian, you said that you didn't think the Schiano experiment was going to work out as well as all of us thinks or hope it will. If they win this game, then I'm putting all my shekels in the Greg Schiano, vision fund. But I think Michigan State wins this. I think the defense does okay. I'm going to say Michigan State 28-7.
Dan?
I'm going to say Michigan State 24-14. I don't think Rutgers has any shot to win, but if the spread is 14, I certainly think they have an opportunity to cover. And based on my prediction, I think they will, which in and of itself is a heroic start for the Greg Schiano round 2 era. and they will immediately break ground on the statue after they cover against Michigan State in this game.
Wow.
All right, and I've got the same score. Michigan State wins 24-14.
All right.
The
All
guy's
right.
the guy's practically nominated for sainthood, and they haven't even played a game yet. If they cover this game, the sky's the limit. He could be governor of New Jersey by Monday.
Probably already could be governor.
Telling you got another recruit out of Illinois today. Kid runs a 4.4. I don't know what's going on, but
He's
maybe
a magic man.
if only
Very
he can,
smooth.
if only he can flip those two Michigan State guys. The important one is Gino Vandermark. Both guys play, and Audric Estime is the running back out of St. Joseph Montvale, but Vandermark is your tackle for the next 4 years. Left tackle for 4 years if you can get him.
I will note he did lose the nation's leading kicker prospect to Penn State, so he's not that good. All right.
Where's that kid out of?
I believe he's out of Pennsylvania,
All right.
Gotta
Eastern
get up a
Pennsylvania.
little
That's
bit
fair.
earlier in the morning to beat old James Franklin.
As long as the kicker
When it
came
comes
from
to those
the
kickers,
Pennsylvania side and not the Jersey side, you guys can
we're not gonna let this one be like Quinn Nordine and let him get away.
All right, and the Terps travel. Where do they play? The Northwestern play in Chicago?
It's in Chicago. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Evanston. Come on, let's be exact.
Evanston, just the north side of the city. Remember, Northwestern built this beautiful stadium
Right on the lake.
Yeah, that was cool.
Lake Michigan.
Oh, the practice field. All right, Terps travel to Evanston to take on Northwestern. Matos, what's your prediction for the Terps versus the Wildcats?
This is,
Eric Davis.
Northwestern is always. It's interesting that they get Peyton Ramsey as their quarterback. Certainly a competent quarterback to lead them. They were god awful last year, but they seem to be cyclical. They kind of like turn things around every other year. They seem to be good. I don't think they'll be great. I think they'll be a 500-ish team this year, Northwestern. I'm going to say 24-10. Seems like a right kind of score, Northwestern Maryland score for me.
Northwestern seems to be in a little bit of a lull. I told you I think the Terps win this game. I got the Terps winning 34-20 over the Wildcats. Jack,
Okay.
Maryland alum, give us your prediction.
Yeah, I think we see both quarterbacks play for the Terps. And I see Talia Tagovailoa turning the ball over in the second half. Maryland loses 17-16.
Ooh, low score and close.
Folks, haven't seen many low-scoring games to start this college football season. That'll be an outlier if that's the case.
What's the spread in that game? Do we know offhand?
You know what? I don't know offhand.
I don't.
Never before have I cared enough to know a Maryland Northwestern spread, but it's 2020. So.
We'll have live spreads for you next week.
Yes. Remember, gambling, stay within your means, people.
Stay within your means. Words to live by in all facets of life. All right, boys. Good show. That's it for this week. A reminder, we are 4 days away from the Big Ten kicking off, real football starting. Finally
get to watch the winning football.
We got it. We thought we lost it for a while. Let's all enjoy it that much more now that we have it back.
Yeah, and a quick shout out to the retiring Mike Doc Emmerich of hockey.
A legend.
Yeah, he's retiring.
Legend.
And I
gave an exclusive to Phil Mushnick this week.
And I bring that up only because not only is he one of the world's best announcers and hockey's best announcer, but the former voice of the New Jersey Devils before he became nationwide famous Mike Doc Emmerich. So we're going to miss him. He called the Devils winning the 2000 Stanley Cup in sudden death overtime. Not much more exciting than that. So goodbye, Mike Doc Emmerich. And one other real quick thing I'd like to say, for the first time since 2014, we're taping on Tuesday. New album by Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band out today. Letter to You. It's fantastic. Check it out, people.
Yeah, thanks to you, Doc Emmerich. All I can say is you made watching hockey more enjoyable.
Sure did.
A legend and a language professor with the different phrases he used to describe everything that was going on the ice.
There won't be. And a true doctor.
Fantastic.
All right.
Big Ten time, baby.
Week, hopefully recapping 5 football wins. Probably not. But as long as we're within Nittany Lions, we'll be happy on this show. That's it for this week. Great show. Like our video, subscribe to our page. And we'll be back next week with another edition of East Coast Bias.
All right, you rah rah. Let's go Terps.